In the Gun, episode number 83. Time to recap a win over those Duquesne Dukes here on your new favorite WVU football podcast. It is In the Gun. I'm Wesley Euler with the best teammates in the business, the signal caller Jed Drenning and the runaway beer truck Owen Schmidt. And as always, this episode of ITG brought to you in part by our friends at Bet Online, your number one source for all your betting needs. You can get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, football, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live bets and your favorite casino and card games available to play right on your phone. So head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Make sure you use the promo code BELIEVE when you sign up for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV at BetOnline, where the game starts. And speaking of the game starting, fellas, a look around college football, a little weekend recap before we get into some WVU specifics as always. And gentlemen, I think kind of the I know the most discussed game of the weekend, that Texas-Alabama game down there in Tuscaloosa Saturday night. And not only did the Longhorns win, not only did they hook them down there in Alabama, pretty decisive fashion there, Owen. A 10-point victory for Texas on the road against Alabama. I didn't take time to look this up, but I can't imagine that Nick Saban has lost by double digits at home. Maybe his first year in Alabama when they really struggled and went 6-6, but other than that, I don't know if they've ever lost like that.
Yeah, and before the game, Pat McAfee show was at
That's right.
Was there for his debut, not debut, but really to let out some juicy nuggets of college football fabulousness and information with the Zen Lord himself, Nick Saban. Letting him know that Saban's going to be on his show.
Yeah, that's going to be a grumpy Nick Saban that he's going to have to deal with this week.
I know, dude. Oh man, I can only imagine it's going to be a rough interview. But Texas getting it done big
time. Jed, before you give your thoughts on Texas Bama, I also wanted to make sure we're all three of us wearing gray here today for a reason. It's September 11th as we record this, so. Tell us, Jed, why we're all wearing gray and what it means to you, and then give us your thoughts on Texas Bama as well.
My man, Chris Gray. He was working for Kenner Fitzgerald, former Mountaineer quarterback, my best friend on the team when I played at WVU. Funniest man I ever met in my life. Working for Kenner Fitzgerald in Tower 2 on 9/11, and he made it down as far as 40. A friend of his called his family. They didn't make it out, but you know what? I decided long ago, this is a day for me, not to sound trite, but a day of celebrating Chris. He was a huge Springsteen fan. He would hold
I saw your tweet.
He would hold. Yeah, that's what I do all day. East Street Radio on Channel 20 on Sirius Radio in honor of Chris. But he used to hold concerts during camp under the tent. And think about what it takes to get everybody to show up 15 minutes early for the first practice during two-a-days. Back when we had two-a-days, everybody was there. Nobody wanted to miss Chris's concert. Hungry Heart, all down the playlist. But Chris was the single funniest dude I ever knew. That's how I'm going to remember him. That's how I'm going to celebrate him. Me and one of Chris's roommates, Charlie Fedorko, who was a receiver on the team, we always text back and forth. We do anyway, but especially today. And Chris's younger brother, Timmy. We had him on the Learfield pregame show a few years back. Of course, I texted Timmy, and everybody's in good spirits. But yeah, this is all about remembering Chris and celebrating Chris. And I'm telling you what, Chris would slap you with a wet fish if he found out that you were anything but happy on a day that you're remembering him. Because for another day in the off season, I'll tell you some Chris Gray stories. But absolutely one of a kind from Manalapan, New Jersey, the son of a mayor, and a different kind of son of a mayor than I am. But Chris was absolutely one of a kind. R.I.P., brother.
No, I love it. I tell you what, I never met Chris, obviously, but if he was that into Springsteen, I think we would have got along. I'm reeling because I was supposed to have two Bruce concerts in Pittsburgh this week, but they both got postponed because he's dealing with some throat issues. But yes, always remembering Chris Gray every day, but especially on this day as it's, again, I know by the time this episode drops, it'll be September 12th, but on the 11th here as we record it. Any Texas Bama thoughts, Jed, before we move on to some of these other games?
Talk about a grumpy Nick Saban, even by Nick standards, that's going to be a grumpy Nick Saban, right? I didn't see it necessarily coming. I thought that the the lack of rat poison that Alabama has got this offseason. They haven't really gotten any love. That's that rat poison that Nick hates. Nobody's been patting on the behind this offseason. And I thought that he would use that to his advantage. And maybe Texas is starting to turn that corner under Sarkisian, but we're about to find out, because the old Texas, even if they managed to do something like this, they wouldn't
fall flat on their
Wyoming.
face.
They got Wyoming at home. That's the kind of game that I'm not saying they lose, but they'd look really ugly. So let's find out if all that talent has finally come through for the Texas Longhorns.
Utah Baylor, I tell you what, a back and forth one, low scoring affair relatively down there in Waco. Utah coming out at the end, kind of crazy situation there. Baylor gets a chance to have an opportunity. They throw a Hail Mary. There's some controversy there on the no call. I don't know, Jed. I've always been of the opinion, like, to me, when you're throwing the ball up in the end zone, I mean, you're gonna have to literally grab somebody by the throat and give them the Undertaker, pile driver for a choke slam from hell for me to get a pass interference call in that situation. But I also understand Baylor's gripe. There was a lot of contact on that play.
Thinking way back to Ohio State, Miami in the national championship. I mean, it kind of reared its head, but it reminded me with Dave Aranda squaring off against Kyle Whittingham. You remember this? You guys know the Spider-Man picture with the cartoons of Spider-Man pointing at each other. Yeah, that's right. That's what Whittingham and Aranda are like. It's like they're looking in the mirror. And hats off to our guy, friend of the show, Phil Steele. Phil Steele told us, look, Baylor's going to play a lot tougher football game than people think they're going to play after that Texas State loss. He said, I think Utah is going to have to win a rock fight, come out late and do something special and get out of there barely alive. And that's what they found a way to do. But credit to Utah. If you want to have a special season, you have to win a list of those types of games.
Certainly do. Yeah, good start for Utah. I mean, they win at home against Florida, then they go down to Baylor against a desperate Bears team. Now Baylor drops to 0-2. And Big O, they're not the only ones. I tell you what, Texas Tech was one of those kind of preseason darlings, right? Getting a lot of love. Some people picking them as a dark horse to even win the Big 12, ranked at the kind of the back end, the 20 to 25 range in a lot of different polls. Well, don't look now. Texas Tech is 0-2 all of a sudden. Lost to Wyoming last week and then had Oregon, top 15 Oregon down in Lubbock. That's obviously, no slouch, no lack of a challenge there. Texas Tech able to hang in that one, played a really strong game, but 20 points Oregon scores in the fourth quarter to Texas Tech's 3 and ends up the Ducks getting out of there with a 1-score victory.
Don't they have Texas State?
Here's what I gotta say. College football is back, baby.
I mean, think about it.
You just never know. You
don't.
You never know.
Don't.
That's the glory of it. All right. That's what I love about it. Right now, it's all rising to the top, right? It's all starting to come to fruition. So we'll see. You gotta squeeze it, dog. Gotta squeeze it. You'll see what's up. But it's been fun watching these last couple of weeks of college football, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Joey McGuire this offseason, it felt like more of a coronation than an offseason. I mean, they had the great finish. They put the streak together down the stretch. They performed well in the postseason. They had so many guys back on both sides of the football. There was all this talk of, despite the fact you lose a top half of the first round edge rusher and Tyree Wilson, he was claiming, hey, our D-line, I think, is better this year than last year with those NFL guys. It's been quite the offseason, but quite the rocky start. We talked about the trap game to open the season at Wyoming, up in the mountains in that crazy environment. Well, now you come home, you're going to have your hands full against Oregon now. To their credit, it's tough to win under the lights for a visitor in Lubbock, guys. It is very tough. And to their credit, they swung back and they had their chances against a very good Oregon team, and they just fell short. But now they're 0-2. And they come to Morgantown in a couple of weeks, and there was a lot of chatter that, hey, what if they upset Oregon? They might be 3-0 and pushing the top 10, at least the top 15. Not so much, sitting there at 0-2. So a different script than what they expected. Now, what kind of character they have? How do they overcome adversity? Because they've been handed a bucket load of it.
They certainly have. And you know what? Speaking of overcoming, let's roll with that theme. Another team starting out 0-2, the Nebraska Cornhuskers here in the Matt Rule era. Maybe the opposite of Colorado in the Deion Sanders era. 2-0 start, convincing, Jed. 22-point victory over Nebraska at home, and a 10 a.m. kickoff there in Boulder. I mean, I tell you what, that'll get them ready for some Big 12 play here starting next season, right? But Colorado ranked, they're going to stay there. Convincing win against Nebraska, 2-0 already. I tell you what, these prime boys aren't going away anytime soon, Jed.
Well, let's hit Nebraska first. I'm going to give you a list of the worst coaching records against top 25 teams. Mike Loxley has the worst record. Coming into the season, he was 2-23 against top 25 teams. Jeff Hafley at Boston College, he was 1-9 coming into the season. Coming into the season, Matt Rule was 2-16 against ranked teams. This now makes him 2-17. They lost a heartbreaker in the opener to Minnesota. His wins against ranked teams were both at Temple, East Carolina, and Navy. He's 2-17, and he's trying to rebuild one of the biggest brands in all of college football. Meanwhile, on the other side, we talked old school with Rule. It doesn't get much more new school than Dion. And once again, they passed with absolute flying colors. I continue to be wildly impressed by Shadir Sanders. The environment in Boulder, wow, did you see that? And
for a 10 a.m. game, too. That's
10 a.m.
insane.
game. It's no accident. People are saying, come on, Colorado State next week. Really, ESPN Game Day is going to Boulder? You betcha they're going to Boulder, because part of it is when ESPN Game Day is putting these schedules together, they're projecting ahead. Hey, let's strike where the iron's hot. Dion's not going to be undefeated forever, or is he? Right. Okay, again, I'm not selling him out. I'm done selling him out. But at the same time, it's pretty clever on their part. It's a home game. They're trying to get some buzz. ESPN is. So why wouldn't you go to Boulder? You know, it's an in-state rivalry game, not much of one really, but to Colorado, it means something to those people. Did you see the pictures? Speaking of Tuscaloosa,
yeah.
I mean, there's like ESPN Game Day fatigue in Tuscaloosa.
I mean, Jed, when
they've been there so many times.
They've been there. Someone posted like in the 15 years that Nick Saban's been there, they've been there like 31 times.
Yeah, I think the word they have a word
insane.
for ESPN Game Day in Tuscaloosa. That word is.
Oh no! Right as Jed froze on us, we're never gonna find out what that word is, Big O. Oh no! What's the word? What's the word? Oh no, not Jed.
Jed, well, tell us.
To be fair, I mean we're gonna have to wait with bated breath here until Jed gets back. He told us before we started recording. Jed told us he was having some internet issues, so we'll give him a minute here. I'm sure he'll just have to reboot the Zoom and hop back in here, but. Man, and that's a great tease there by Jed, I tell you. I mean, he couldn't have timed,
a great tease. And to
go back
that
any better.
Absolutely. And to go back to Colorado a little bit, I mean, dude, you know, what he's doing on the football field is amazing. But if you get some of these insight, what he's doing he's coaching these boys to be men.
Absolutely.
I mean, some of these teachings that he's going through, it's way beyond football. It's really maturing these kids out, and it's awesome to see a coach putting that kind of real.
Completely agree. Oh no! Owen, you got me there. I think I'm losing you too. Oh jeez, this is classic. Wait, Owen, you got me? You there? Oh. I think Owen's lagging a little bit too. I tell you what, folks, it's just one of those days here. When it rains, it pours, right? But that's okay. We'll see. We'll get Owen. We'll get Jed tapped in here. I mean, I tell you what, it's gonna be one of them times. I tell you, folks. Oh, geez, now I'm the only one on here. All right. Well, now you just got me. Okay, we'll get Jed. We'll get Owen back in here. Here's what we're going to do. We'll take our break now. All right. We had a couple more topics that we were going to discuss. We'll take our break now. We'll get this figured out. We'll come back with Jed and Owen. Before we go to break, big thank you to one of our presenting sponsors, Toothman Ford. As always, folks, we all know cars cost less in Grafton. Make sure you're getting your butt to Grafton for all of your vehicle needs. They do so much for our student athletes and NIL. Make sure you're supporting those who support the Mountaineers and support this podcast.
Nobody supports the blue and gold Mountaineers like Toothman Ford. With over 20 NIL deals and counting, Toothman Ford continues to rally behind our student athletes. And it's time we rally and support the dealer that supports the Mountaineers. Not only does Toothman Ford offer the best prices in the state on pre-owned, their never over MSRP campaign on new Fords guaranteed to save you thousands. Drive with pride all season long, knowing you're supporting the dealer that fuels our Mountaineers. Toothman Ford, where cars cost less, in Grafton and at toothmanford.com.
For more West Virginia Mountaineer football content, be sure to follow us on Twitter @InTheGunPodcast.
For nearly 20 years, Fortis has been the nation's leader in providing guaranteed roof performance programs for commercial buildings. Fortis offers roof performance solutions that feature extensive initial and ongoing reconditioning for commercial buildings as an alternative to traditional replacement, with long-term performance guarantees that are backed by global leader Lloyd's of London. Fortis offers a comprehensive range of roof performance management programs that provide financial security, extend the life of our customers' roofs, and make a significant impact on ROI. Fortis is currently improving performance and increasing ROI for customers at more than 4,800 locations, with more than 140 million square feet protected, including many Fortune 500 companies that have turned to Fortis to save money, gain financial certainty, and extend the life of their existing roofs. Fortis has helped customers save more than $520 million in capital roof replacement costs for an average ROI of over 250%. To learn more, visit fortis.us.com. Fortis, roof performance and financial certainty guaranteed.
Let's go, Mountaineer fans. You're tuned in to In the Gun with Wes, the Runaway Beer Truck, and the Signal Caller.
All right, back in the gun due to some technical difficulties. The greatest unintentional tease ever. Jed, down in Tuscaloosa, what do they call College game day?
You guys any guesses?
Would you go ahead? Would you give us the answer before you cut out again?
It's going to be a double tease because they call it Saturday. That's what they call it.
I knew it was
all there's
something.
To it. They call it Saturday.
I know.
All right, guys.
I'm
I'm
Come
done.
on,
I'll see you later.
dog.
Thank you very much. I'll see you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Sean Big Daddy Mariner. No, it's time to catch up with our friend, your friend, the mayor of Morgantown himself, Mr. Big Daddy Mariner. Now, Sean, I don't want to give anything away to those who haven't been able to go to a game yet, but I got to give you guys, they've got Rasheed Marshall worked into a little hype thing going on. They got the NWO worked into a little hype thing going on. Bravo, good sir, by you, Chris O, everybody involved. Great stuff Saturday night against Duquesne.
Chris O. That's all him. He for the NWO, we won't spoil it, but he called me in 2 days before. He said, I had an idea on the drive home. He started to press play. I watched 2 seconds and I walked out. I said, yeah, that'll work. One more little tease. There might be some different stuff in the entrance video this week as well. That's it. We're done.
Oh, baby.
State secret.
I can't wait. All right, Jed, since you're the one in the volatile place here, all right, Jed's internet connection is like my stomach after 18 Miller Lights and a dozen chicken wings on a Saturday night, okay? We're in a volatile place here right now. So, Jed, get into some of your Duquesne thoughts here in case we lose you.
How is it my internet was better in 2005 in my house than it is today? Right? Let's start with that. But okay, we had obviously the delay that we have to talk about. We spent the better part of an hour and a half to 2 hours inside the facility. The way that worked out, typically what happens for those who haven't been in the locker room at halftime, it's a big building. It's a big weight room that leads into a big locker room. The defense usually works their way into the actual locker room. The offense and offensive staff stay out in the weight room area on the turf and the benches and chairs out there. That's the same type of thing that happened during the delay. Now, when the delay first started, there was a lot of pent-up energy. It had a halftime vibe to it. You're coming right off the field. You were just in action 5 minutes earlier. So, for instance, I heard D. Hawkins just lighting the defense up. In other words, it was one of these rah, get your act together. This isn't acceptable, that type of thing. Well, Mike Joseph quickly realized we need to pace ourselves, okay? So when he started to piece this together, it's not an accident that he's one of the best in the business. He came in and said, hey, it's time to calm down. It's time to regroup. You guys need to rest, and let's take it from there. So we knew the rule was lightning strike within 8 miles is a 30-minute reset on the clock. So we kept getting, like Rick Baker was in there with us, and he was getting text, and you'd hear him off on the other side of the room, another reset. Well, I'm sitting there with Matt Horn, our state trooper, great Matt, and Jeff Castile, and we're all just kind of telling war stories, right, from the better part of the last 30 years. And next thing you know, boom, another strike above us. We're like 18 minutes into the reset. Now it's another 30-minute reset. Then you finally realize it's approaching a point where we think we're going to go back. But before that happened, Big Daddy, were you in there with the pizza? The pizza came through the door strapped to a gurney. I was like, is this dead pizza? But there were giant boxes of pizza. So we got pizza. Duquesne got chicken strips. Pizza prevailed. So as you saw when we took the field, Neil addressed both the offense and the defense and then the team at large. And, it was effective. I think that served us well. And we took the field. We were a different team. Really, within 4 minutes of game time, the game was over after we took the field. We had the quick touchdown, a quick stop, another quick touchdown. It's 28-10, and we're kind of just carving them up like we should have from the outset at that point. But like a lot of what I saw in the throw game, like a lot of what I saw before we get into Hudson, like a lot of what I saw in the run game, there were 3 plays with Garrett that kind of stick out. I always thought that he was an incredibly lethal 2-minute style quarterback because he has the arm, the pop in his arm, but he also has the ability with his legs to make things happen. Well, there was a 3-play sequence, and on that 3-play sequence, we were up 28-10, and it was inside 2 minutes. We were a 2-minute drill. Garrett against a 4-man rush didn't like to look downfield. He kind of had the curl and the offset, but he decided instead, boom, he saw a crease, he hit it. 17 yards later, easy pickup. Next snap, Garrett gets punched right in the mouth by the nose guard, 300 pounds, who penetrated pretty cleanly. Garrett took a heck of a shot and threw a perfect crease route, a bench route from the right hash to the wide side of the field to Preston Fox, stood tall, took the shot, boom. So that was play number 2. And then play number 3, we went vertical, and he made a great throw up the seam. He hit Preston Fox for the score. What happened was that linebacker that was trying to cover Preston Fox recognized he was kind of shorthanded athletically, so he kind of had to turn his hips to keep pace. And Garrett recognized the body language and the coverage angle of that backer and threw it behind Preston's back hip, and he just flipped away from the backer. So bang, 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 3 brilliant plays. Got what we wanted out of CJ. Obviously got what we wanted out of Jaheim. I mean, Jalen made some plays for us too, some 2-back sets, but Jaheim continues to improve more and more and more. But the story of the night was, and it was kind of, they were being a little hush-hush on the sidelines in terms of why Devin wasn't starting, right? He got tweaked midweek in practice, didn't appear quite to be full speed before the game. And Neil told him, he's like, dude, you don't look full speed. It's not worth it. I'm sitting you. I'm not going to have you aggravate something. So literally minutes before the game, Huddy found out you're going in and you're starting. And you talk about making the most of your opportunity. 5 catches, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns. There's a reason he's the story of the game. You know, we were standing in the locker room. Big Daddy, weren't you in there?
Yep.
Okay, that's right. You were rounding Garrett up for me. Yeah,
Yep.
Me and Big Daddy were both in there when he made the announcement. And obviously it's gone viral on Twitter and social media when he, tagged him with the scholarship. And the truth of the matter is he's been coming along so much, Hudson has, that was probably going to happen sometime in the coming weeks, but you just couldn't resist the perfect timing, the perfect performance being rewarded. And people have asked, well, hey, how could you miss on him? How could he have no true offers coming out of Martinsburg? Well, to Neil's credit, he's like, well, hey, we missed on him, but there's a couple things to consider here. First of all, he tracks as one of the 5 fastest guys on this team right now. Probably the 2nd fastest receiver we have. I mean, he's mid 22s, high 22s in the GPS.
22.7, Neil said today. 22.7.
Thank you. He's legit fast. He showed up with speed, but he didn't show up with that speed. So a year plus into it with Mike Joseph, A, he's gotten a lot faster, but B, he showed up at like $170. He's pushing 200 pounds, guys, and that's 25 plus pounds of Mike Joseph induced muscle. So he's a different player. As productive as he was at Martinsburg, he's even a different player now than he was then. And then let's jump to the defensive side. And I'm going to wrap up my Duquesne take because I want you guys to jump in. On the defensive side of the football, I mean, there were some things I liked in terms of getting pressure. I continue to like what Mike Lockhart's doing, both against the pass and against the run. I mean, he's a guy that's managing to eat space and play gaps and penetrate. That's asking a lot. I like where that rotation's at. I continue to love what I see out of Trey Lathan. Again, some more reps mixed up between Mike and Will. So that question hasn't been asked in 2 weeks for a reason. When these guys cross-trained, both are playing a little bit of both. But big Sean Martin, Owen, you and I talked about it when you called me yesterday. Sean Martin, I'm telling you, when that motor's on, that motor is on. I mean, and he's a faster than a guy that size you might expect. Watch him chase that quarterback from the backside, and the pursuit that he puts on him, the heat that he puts on him, forces a quick throw. Beanie, I mean, we're going to get into more about Beanie as this week progresses. But the Willie Mays moment, I call it the say hey pick. He's now my say hey kid, guys. I'm nicknaming him already. I'm anointing him my say hey kid. But you talk about playing the ball in the air and what a knack he has for that. Guys, he didn't see that football. He was playing that wide out, defending him perfectly, and reacted to the wide out to snatch that thing. So what a play he made. Aubrey Burks, I'm telling you, that guy eats film. I mean, he diagnoses so many things that they're doing offensively, whether it's the quick throw game or the run game. You see him fly downhill into his run fit. You see him fly downhill and hit the flat when he's manned up on number three from the wide side, I should say. But he can make some plays for us. Now, a couple things that were giving us problems, and again, we'll explore this more as we get into the Pitt matchup. But one of the things that was happening, we worried about it last week. I said this quarterback comes in at about 220. He's strong. He's a little slippery. He's tough to bring down. What was my concern? He's going to shake loose. He's going to break contain. And against a struggling secondary, he's going to say, hey, instead of covers for the 3 or 4 seconds that you typically struggle with anyway, how about I add another 3 or 4 seconds to it by breaking the pocket? And that's exactly what happened in some of those big plays. And part of it was, Owen, you can talk about this as well. When we're stunting and we're twisting, sometimes that works against you when you're trying to keep contained because the quarterback can kind of bounce outside of that twist. That happened a couple times, but we're going to have to find a way this week against Pitt to absolutely keep contained against a quarterback who has the skill set to do that very thing as well. Extend plays, put maximum pressure and stress on your secondary. And when we're trying to find ourselves in the back end, that's the last thing they need. But guys, that's the way I saw it, both the good and the bad.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of good play, Jim. A lot of good play. And you kind of summed everything up. Honestly, I loved our running back play. I thought the guys that got in there, you could really see the zone kind of develop as the game went on, and how those guys are really starting to really read the play correctly. You know, you're seeing a lot more bounce plays because they're trusting the reads, right? So we're getting outside on those reads. And I thought that was great. You know, like you said, Bishop's catch was absolutely insane. I flipped out. I was like, dude, what the hell just happened there? And 84 coming up huge. I mean, I can only imagine the feelings inside of his chest when coach was like, hey, you got to start today. You know what I mean? I'm sure he was completely jacked up, kind of a weird game. You know, you're playing a couple minutes and then all of a sudden you're sitting out for 2 hours, basically. Like now you're cold again. Like, how do you restart? How do you recoup? But so many cool things we did see. And obviously the stuff that we struggled with, we got to keep working on that. You know what I mean? But that's sometimes what's nice about having, you know, a quote unquote tune-up game. You know, you can kind of get away with a couple things and take some chances too, but you can really start to see those things that we did last week. We made some improvements, made some adjustments. They worked. Yeah, we came out a little flat. Not the same atmosphere as I'm sure Penn State was, but I think there's going to be plenty of energy rolling around the stadium this Saturday because, baby, it's H. Schmidt Pitt time.
Big Daddy, what did you do during the 2-hour delay?
So I'm the one that had to put the alert and then the radar up on the board and just sit in the control room the whole time. We're right next to the command post. So the head of operations came in, told us this is what we need to do, is giving our PA the reads and all that stuff. I will say I do like the new radar system. They've got a new app. We showed on the board, you can show this is the 8-mile radius and it has little icons where lightning is actually hitting. So you can watch it in real time. So that's how we knew, like, oh boy, we're going to be here a while. Just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. So I thought that was really cool. Jed, I was not down there for the pizza delivery. I'm a little sad I missed it. But what I do love is I love hearing you guys talk about this stuff because we do media now on Monday. So I'm fresh from media. Everything you guys are saying are almost word for word verbatim, things that were talked about by the coaching staff. Oh, and Coach Scott talked about Jaheim today, trusting his reads. It took him a while to get there. Then finally he's understanding you can't just outrun people. Jed, people were talking almost word for word about the catch, how it was the say hey catch. Like Beanie said, I didn't even see it until it was right. Like this is the stuff that you guys are dead on, and I love.
And the beauty of it, guys,
buddy.
we talk about keeping things vanilla, keeping things basic, keeping things simple. Now, we do have coverage wrinkles. Neil's talked about this. We have coverage wrinkles that we put in after Penn State, but you want to reserve those for Pitt. You don't want them on tape. But, Owen, you even talked about you're going to install that fake screen look. We've had in the playbook for a while that we scored. The Huddy had its easiest touchdown. Here's the beauty of it, guys. that's attached to so much of what we do in the run game, those perimeter screens. In other words, there's an RPO element to that, and Garrett's reading that. So if the numbers favor the screen, you pop the screen out. If the numbers don't, you give the ball on the the run part of the RPO. But here's the deal. If Pitt's corners are watching tape and they want to be over aggressive and fly up and take that screen out, they might slide the brakes on just a little bit, saying, whoa, 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 if you're going to play that game. So it gives them a little something to think about as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely already talked to Coach Osborne, our OC here at we had practice here at 5:30 when we stayed after, talked shop a little bit, and I was like, bro, we got to put this play in. I was like, because we use a lot of the bubble stuff and the bubble screen game, and just to have something that looks like the play, there's no real change up. You're not changing a formation. You're not doing anything crazy. It's the same thing. But like you said, Jed, now that could be a whole nother read, just like rerunning a route, based on coverage. Like you said, if they want to come up, bam, I would tell them, hey, slip them. And Garrett and those guys should be able to read that on the fly.
Oh yeah.
When he's going to throw the bubble. I mean, honestly, there you don't see passes where there's no hitch in the step, and like when somebody hits somebody that in stride, it's a thing of beauty, man. It's a thing of beauty. I was like, let's go, son.
Absolutely.
When you're starting to dial in, it doesn't matter who you're playing with. That connection right there is on the money. And it was I'm telling you, I got excited. I chugged a couple Miller Lights after that play.
Well, and the orchestration of the offense, for all the indictments against it when it struggles and we don't popping up big plays, structurally what's fun to see is it's fun to watch an offense, irrespective of who they're playing. I don't care if you're playing the number one ranked team in the country, you're playing an FCS team. If you have answers to what the other team is trying to do to you. Now, early on, Owen, we talk so much about the stretch play. It's one of our bread and butters. And it's the fact that the running backs are getting the flow and getting the feel and understanding those reads. They're going to bounce it. They're going to bend it. They're going to bang it. Well, the defense recognizes that too. And one of the things that Duquesne was trying to do, to their credit, is they were trying to play with the edges. So in other words, whichever direction we were running the stretch play to, they were trying to crash wide from the perimeter with that perimeter defender. Okay. So one time on the goal line, remember Hudson's first touchdown? What happened on that slant? What happened on that? We were running an RPO, a stretch play to that side, to Hudson's side. The Will backer crashed trying to attack the perimeter of the stretch play. Well, what happens is Hudson fills that void behind the Will backer crashing to slant. Jarrett's reading him as the conflict defender. Oh, you're going to try and outnumber us in the run game. Well, thank you. Bop, quick slant touchdown. So it's an answer to what the defense is trying to do to adjust to you. And that's the type of thing you like to see well executed. That's the type of thing that you need to make some big plays on.
Absolutely.
He did. Good start. And let's carry that over into, I guess, the second most notable athletic program out of Pittsburgh, who's coming down to Morgantown on Saturday. All right. Sean's
shout out real fast, Wes. Nico, when Nico gets moving and strokes it, that's pretty. That's pretty. When he gets moving and strokes it, that's pretty. But go ahead.
One where he threw back across to Jeremiah, it hit him. I mean, that was square.
That might have been the prettiest play of the game. I told Nico on the sidelines. And one more thing about Nico, I texted you guys. When he started to go in the game, when he had that drive, when Rodney tried to outstretch that thing past the pylon, first of all, you never do that past fourth down. Bill Belichick says you only do it at the last play of the game, so you certainly don't do it in that situation. He's a freshman, won't do it again. But that cost us a score on that drive. Nico came off. He's frustrated that the offense didn't punch it in. He said, we're going to punch one in. We're going to punch one in. I looked at him and said, dude, if you don't punch 3 in, I want to be pissed. He said, you got 3. You got 3. I walk in the locker room after the game. He's sitting in his locker from a distance. I gave him the 3 fingers up. He gives me the 3 fingers back, smiling like the butcher's dog. Great night for both quarterbacks.
I love it. I love it. One quarterback who was not smiling like a butcher's dog Saturday night was that jerk from Pitt, Phil Jerkovich. Sean, just real quick. I mean, do you think we should boo on Saturday night?
No,
is little Phil going to be able to handle that?
If I could speak directly to the fans for a second, let's be courteous. Let's be quiet. Let's be calm. It was already going to be bad, right? Then you see that guy's comments and all I've seen is every person I know on social just like, why on earth would you say for a guy who's from the area, who should know a thing or two about this? Yes. Bulletin board material is the last thing you want to do. Even if it's not directed towards us, we're going to pick up on it. And oh my God, I am excited for when the teams run on the first time after our entrance video, just to see if we can shake the whole glass out of our windows in front of us. Like, it's going to be insane.
Big Daddy, I want to ask you a question, because I think we all fared pretty well in projecting what to expect at Penn State. We all came pretty close with that.
We were,
right?
Yeah.
What I'm guessing for this, and I have reasons for guessing it, 10 years plus last year since the game had been played in Pittsburgh, the Backyard Brawl. This is 10 years plus since it's last been played in Morgantown. I expect, now granted, I'm not going to say the novelty was worn off because the 10-year drought, it was over last year. This is still the drought in Morgantown. Last time was 2011. It's been 12 years. I think if Pittsburgh, which is always flat as a pancake under any circumstances when Pitt's playing football, if that stadium was truly as electric as it proved to be last year, it never has a pulse, and it was gyrating like the Himalayas.
Yeah.
If that stadium could do that because of the Pitt, West Virginia drought, what can Mountaineer Field do? I'm telling you, I expect an atmosphere maybe like we haven't seen at Mountaineer Field. Maybe.
We have been making jokes for weeks since we knew it was going to be a night game and everything. Like, we could just make fart noises into the microphone rather than play music, and this place is going to explode for anything and everything. Like,
careful with the fart noises, because you might make Pitt feel at home.
Yeah, they might get comfortable. True. Understood.
That's
Nailed
true.
it.
Cha-ching.
Nailed it.
Oh, buddy, I can't wait. Listen,
for later in the week, we got to check copyright laws on D-Bag of the Year, the song. We've got to get it in there.
Yes.
For our doozy. I listened to his presser today, and it was hard just to listen for 20 minutes. It's hard.
Listen, guys, since Saturday night, I've been biting my tongue. All right. Sean, I said to these guys before we started recording, half joking, half serious, like, because Owen made a joke about, he said, we're going to beat him by 28 points on Saturday night. I said, if we beat Pitt by 28 points on Saturday night, I'm going to get fired from my job for all the vile stuff I'm going to tweet at Pat Narduzzi all night.
And I have never blamed anybody. The joke is always, if we're up 28 in the fourth quarter, beat traffic, like all that. If we are up 28 in the fourth quarter, if we are up 58 in the fourth quarter, every single person is going to stay in their seats just to sing afterwards. Like, it's going to be incredible.
Maybe we boo for like 5 minutes before we sing Country Roads.
Wait
just
until they clear the field, and then
Big Daddy, buddy, we are very kind of you. We're very appreciative of all the time that you give us every single week.
Always happy.
I know you, like me, different parts of the geography, right? But we both grew up looking forward to this game. It was always Thanksgiving or Black Friday when you and I were kids. Mm-hmm. It's obviously not quite the same having it in September as an out-of-conference game as it is at the end of the season in a conference game. But to have those guys back at Mountaineer Field for the first time since 2011 will certainly stir some emotion. So, buddy, I'm jacked up. I know you're jacked up, and I can't wait to see what you guys do with the show.
Let me ask you before I go, we'll make this quick. Do all of you have one play that sticks out in your mind from a home West Virginia Pitt game at Mountaineer Field?
Yes.
Hit me.
John Pennington.
That's the first one that comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
Owen, what was yours? Because you were part of, Jamal Adai had the pick six to end the game that one year when you were here.
That was good, but even before that, I'm with Jed.
Yeah.
There was something so iconic about that play, and I remember seeing it. They used to have a picture of it in the stadium. I'm sure it's been removed or whatever, or moved or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just, it was just different, you know what I mean? And that was such a huge thing and a motivating tool for us, in the years that I was there.
I'm in a car with my best friend. It was freshman year, so I was home on break. I couldn't get tickets for it. We're driving to the Ohio Valley Mall, listening to it on the radio, and Caridi lost his mind as we are pulling in to go do something. Like, unreal. The video will be featured heavily. Fear not,
guys. Fourth down, right
Love
before the half.
Yes,
That was
I mean,
a 4th and 4, 4th and 5, and Rich put it up, thinking that corner might be nibbling on something underneath. If I had a close number 2, and this is just showing my age, Haas's bootleg
83.
83.
I was gonna say when he and kneels down, that is such a good moment. Bittenkurt, I think.
I was gonna say
Bittenkurt,
I'll show my age. How about Bittenkurt in 09, and how about Stedman Bailey?
The stiffy was
to
in
the chin in 2011.
When we have been building the entrance video, working with our new video guy, Andrew, he's been incredible. He's tried to soak up as much knowledge about the program as he can. He's been cutting stuff. I said, please put the stiff arm in. And he goes, he didn't stiff arm him in LSU. It's like, Andrew, please go to my folder on the server. I have the place saved. Find the stiff arm. Just put it in, please.
And Stu, guys, before the Bittenkurt kick, Stu was so stoic. But after the kick, I can honestly say I don't think at any point in my life, other than we had our 2 kids and looking at my wife, have I seen a happier heart with these eyes. I mean, looking at Coach Stewart after Bittenkurt nailed that field goal.
I remember Scooter Barry coming over to the student section and just crying his eyes out.
Julian Miller's senior night in 2011, when he has all those so many memories. I get so emotional. Like, this is the biggest game. I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped for Saturday night.
You mentioned that 2011 game real quick when the Mountaineers had like 37 sacks and were able to come back from 14 points down and win that game. A big part of that final drive where the Mountaineers took the lead, everybody remembers the 4th down conversion, right? From Gino to Tavon, like the 4th and 6, I think it was. Like, it wasn't a gimme 4th down by any means that they converted there. Earlier in that drive as well, too, we were getting ready to face a 4th down, and Aaron Donald took a personal foul for a late hit on Geno Smith. So there was that clip that was going around of Aaron Donald running down Geno Smith and gets the late hit call.
That's true. Yeah.
First thing I had, I'm sitting in the booth doing the post game for Steelers Niners on Sunday, watching the highlights, and I'm like, that's not the first time Aaron Donald took an ill-advised roughing the passer penalty against Geno Smith.
I've seen it.
I've seen that before. I tell you. Sean, we're going to wrap this up here. Normally we just close down with you, but since we had some technical stuff, we got 1 or 2 more things to hit here. Buddy, thanks for your time as always. And again, excited to see what you guys got up your sleeve for Saturday night.
Thank you, folks. We'll see all of you Saturday night.
Hey, brother.
There's our guy, Big Daddy Sean Mariner. When you see the hype videos, when you see the NWO, brother, what you gonna do when Sean Mariner and Chris Austin run wild on you? It's gonna be fantastic. Like I said, I don't want to ruin too much, but these guys have me ready to run through a brick wall before Duquesne. I can only imagine what it's gonna be like.
I hope it works.
Thinking Pitt Panthers. Buddy, listen, we know you'll do your part as always.
Thank you. Want a real-time update, Wes?
Okay, go ahead.
As we tape this, Peyton Manning in complete disbelief seeing Aaron Rodgers get on the cart. Aaron Rodgers has been carted off the Jets game.
What?
As we're taping right now.
Oh my goodness.
Green Bay needs 60% of all plays played to get that extra draft pick. So
you might be in trouble.
Hurts the heart.
Big Daddy, thanks, partner. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right, wrapping up number 83, episode 83 here of ITG, our Duquesne recap. When we had those technical issues earlier, one of the games around college football that we didn't get a chance to discuss, of course, was Cincinnati and Pitt, an old Big East rivalry. Another one that not nearly to the same extent of the backyard brawl, but a rivalry with some history, a rivalry that went away there for a little while. An anticipated game. Cincinnati gets out to a big lead. Pitt ends up coming back. They have a chance to win it. Their offense stalls, and Jerkovich isn't able to get much done. That's what leads to some of that booing that you heard us talking about earlier. But guys, that game went about as perfectly without, I made the joke last week. Let's hope that game goes into 7 overtimes, right? And they just beat the crap out of each other. Realistically, though, that was about as best as it could go. Cincinnati gets out to a huge lead. Pitt claws back. They think they're about to win it, and then they end up falling short, and their fan base is cantankerous, and their quarterback is pouting like a little baby, and their head coach is all over the place in his press conferences as well, too. Aside from a 7 overtime knockdown, drag out type fight, I think, you know what? I think we might have got him in the position that we want.
I agree. I mean, it would have been nice for them to be 2-0 coming into the matchup, just to create some of it. But I think they're a little salty in the bottom end there, and they're going to be hungry for some revenge as they come off that old Big East foe loss up there in Pitt. And, here's what I'm going to say. It's going to be electric, son. The beer truck's rolling in town, dog. We're going to be heavily sedated with Miller Lite beverages.
No, trust loggers. Trust loggers.
I'm telling you, it is going. Yeah. Oh, trust. Yes. I will be having a plentiful of the trust lager in hand.
They got him in the stadium, Big O. I tell you what, buddy.
15 percentile. They're getting all the 15% from me. I'm telling you that much.
Those cans are everywhere in that stadium.
They are. It's awesome.
Dude, it's so cool. It's what a great idea. It's awesome. But yes, I'm going to have my share. I'll keep my tabs so that
you can see how much you donated.
Let's do an over-under on the amount of donations that Wes and I will make on Saturday. I'm going to say,
I'll tell you.
I'm not driving either. So
same.
I'm saying
you're welcome.
I'm going to drink at least 15 trust lagers.
Well, Big O, every trust lager that you drink in the stadium, $1.50 goes to the WVU NIL. So
$10.
There we go.
No, it's $11. So actually, you're right. It's what? It's like $1.65. Yeah.
How about that? So that's quite a donation.
I'm doing 15 of them.
Guys, I think they're
buying a case before I get into town too.
They're coming into somewhat of a potential hornet's nest. It was, as you touched on, Wes, that was a physical game. That kind of reminded me of our Penn State game. Yep. We talked last week about how they could be in for a nasty bit of a rock fight. We didn't think Cincinnati would find a way to finish it and win it, but Cincinnati's D-line, I'm telling you, when you look at Corleone, Jawan Briggs, that group is nasty. And, I mean, that running back's better than advertised, so give him credit. They found a way in a very physical football game. It goes back to the old saying, don't let one game beat you twice. Well,
Right.
Let's hope that Pitt does that. And I think that they might have been a little peek ahead. So the game that could beat them twice isn't the Cincinnati game. It's actually the West Virginia game. So I think that kind of caught up to them. And Cincinnati's better than they expected. But Owen, you talked about it. If they come in here 2-0, that's great. But it's also great that we have a chance to send them into
They
the
leave
season
1-2.
0-2 against the Big 12.
That's
So
right.
I like
That's
that
right.
idea. But that was a physical game they played in. I was kind of hoping that Stormfront would head north to Pittsburgh and delay their game as well.
There you
It
go.
didn't happen, but I'll take the physicality of that matchup against Cincinnati last week. So,
Jed, before we get out of here, we got a spread on that Pitt game, don't we?
yeah, we do. It keeps bouncing back and forth. A buddy of mine saw Pitt -1, and then I saw West Virginia -1. I think it's a simple function of where you look, but where I land is it's going to be an interesting thing to monitor for the rest of the week. It seems to be like maybe one of those lines that will float a little bit through the course of the week. And again, I have to think, guys, if you're looking at the body of work through two games, our Penn State game against their Cincinnati game, they were favored by 4.5 and got beat at home. And, we were 3 touchdown underdogs and basically got beat by 3 touchdowns in the last seconds. And then you kind of wash the FCS games or the other games, right? So what's the difference here? To me, it would be the environment, the venue, the most electric crowd we've even by Mountaineer Field standards seen in a long time. Shouldn't that be worth a couple points? I think it should.
Yeah,
but
better be.
That's why Vegas makes the money.
Well, listen, it's gonna end up being, I think, a point and a half either way. By the time we get to Saturday afternoon, that's what you want. That's what you expect in a rivalry game. Does feel like one of those coin flip games, right, where it'll come down to just a couple key moments, and hopefully that atmosphere, hopefully our crowd will be part of, what propels us to victory, which gives us that little extra oomph on Saturday night. We'll have a ton of Pitt content for you guys this week. Obviously, we'll have our full preview later in the week with Phil Steele as well, too. Our Phil episodes where he'll be deep diving into his thoughts from a neutral national perspective on the game as well, too. So it's Brawl week, baby. We're fired up. We're ready to go. And as the great Jack Fleming would have said, there's only 2 words that matter this week. Beat Pitt. For our producer, our guy in the back, Skylar Callahan, the runaway beer truck, Jed Drenning. Jed, runaway beer truck, Jed Drenning. I'm all excited now. The runaway beer truck, Owen Schmidt, and the signal caller, Jed Drenning. I'm Wesley Euler, folks. Thanks for listening. The one thing we ask of you, as always, is to be an ear and tell an ear about your new favorite WVU football podcast. Plenty more coming at you this week. It's Brawl week, baby. Get fired up. Get ready to go. And if you're making your way to Morgantown on Saturday night, be ready to represent. That'll do it for us today, but plenty more coming at you this week. Take care, and we'll talk soon. You've been in the gun.